We will discuss tax savings in much more detail later in the course when we discuss retirement savings programs, education savings programs, etc. But I want to give you simple tips to put on your radar screen right now because our biggest expense is going to be taxes for the rest of our lives. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. If you can save just a few percent every year on lower taxes, then the long-run savings and addition to your wealth can be significant. And I realize that all countries, provinces, states, and towns have different tax codes. And I know that each new political leader that gets elected often changes taxes or changes the tax codes. As a result, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep this lesson and all tax-related lessons generic enough that they can help to save you money regardless of where you live. And so in the United States, the governing body here in charge of taxes is the Internal Revenue Service, also called the IRS. And their website can be helpful if you have tax questions at www.irs.gov. In Barbados, it's called the Barbados Revenue Authority, and their website is www.bra.gov.bb. Okay, and these websites are amazing, okay, and browsing them for your country every now and then will help you to realize that there's more tax benefits that you're not aware of and that you should be taking advantage of. And so for my students in all other countries, the governing body and website address, if you need, can be accessed right here in the course. Okay, let's get started. The following 14 tax savings tips are sorted alphabetically and might apply where you live. And you can also access this video if you need to in the future by clicking on this button in Excel exercise number 3. And the same thing goes for all 17 videos per these buttons here in the course. Okay. And so in order to save you time, I will provide a menu, as I mentioned, just like this one at the start of all 17 expense savings videos in case some are not applicable to you. Okay, let's get started. Tax savings tip number 1. Buy from another state or province tip. And often taxes are only collected on stuff you buy if that product was made in the province or state that you live in. So if this is applicable, order products from another state or province so that you pay less in tax. For example, when I used to buy software when I lived in the province of Ontario, Canada, I had to pay 8% more in tax than if I ordered the software from the province I did not live in, which was Quebec. Okay, tax savings tip number 2, charitable tax tips. Please keep all mileage and receipts for your commutes to and from charitable events. And of course, always ask for tax receipts when you donate money, as this will hopefully convince you to donate more in the long run. And take a picture of your car's odometer before and after you finish driving to a charitable event. Then during tax season, look through the photos on your mobile device to get the mileage results. And you can also track your mileage by attaching an Internet of Things device to your car in what is called your car's ODB port to track mileage. Okay, or just look at your calendar at the end of the year and track mileage by looking at the address you drove to in your calendar. Okay, and we're going to talk a lot more about your car's ODB port and how to save a lot of money on auto-related expenses in the car and transportation expense savings lesson. There are several helpful apps and website services that can really help you with deductions, such as these offerings from software company Intuit. And we're going to talk a lot more about some of Intuit's amazing expense software products later in the course. Separately, quite often you can get a charitable tax deduction benefit if you donate stuff that you currently own. Okay, tax saving tip number 3, company tax benefits tip. If you work at a company, your company might have many tax savings benefits that you're just not aware of, like savings matching plans, etc. So if applicable, call Human Resources or speak with your supervisor for a list of employee benefits, or just look at your employee manual if applicable, as companies have so many perks that you might not be aware of. And I'm sure they get a tax benefit as well for providing you with these perks anyway. Tax saving tip number 4, education tax tip. If your country offers tax-free savings plans for your children's education, then please max out your contribution every year if you can, because it's similar to a retirement savings program and your money can grow tax-free. And you only pay taxes when you take the money out many years from now, when this amount is worth a heck of a lot more than it is today. And so in the United States, an education savings program is called a 529 plan. In Canada, it's called an RESP. And a lot of countries have this in place as well. And to get more information on educational tax savings programs in your country, if applicable, please go to this location in the Complete Personal Finance Dashboard Excel file. Okay, tax savings tip number 5, environmental tax break tip. Get solar on your roof if the tax subsidies are great where you live. And so in California, Christine, my wife, and I, we had solar installed on our roof because, well, of course, we care about the environment, but the tax benefits are amazing. And you can choose to buy or lease, meaning rent, the panels on your roof. And don't buy them, please. I want you to rent or lease them instead. And I want to explain why. There's actually 3 reasons. Number 1, it's cheaper to lease or rent them. Number 2, these panels usually depreciate by about 5% per year, and by year 20, they wear out and they're not worth basically anything. And number 3, and this one's big, if the solar company goes out of business, it will cost the bankruptcy courts a lot of money to remove the panels, and they're not going to bother doing so anyway, which is actually what happened to us. The solar company we used was called Sungevity, which went bankrupt. Our panels are still on our roof, and our electricity meter actually rolls backwards as we generate electricity during the day. Okay, and just make sure that there's tax incentives in place, though, and these laws change quite often, so please do your research. Tax savings tip number 6, hire an accountant. Okay, this might sound obvious, but please hear me out on this one, okay? I want you to keep every single receipt, and please try your best to have an accountant file your taxes, as I promise you that there are tax benefits and deductions that you're not taking advantage of, regardless of your age, occupation, or where you live. And hiring an accountant that is not expensive, and I promise you, you will find ones that are not expensive by talking to your friends or parents, okay, or mentors at work, and they'll recommend who to hire. And a lot of them, again, are not expensive, and they can find you a ton of breaks, okay? And this will keep you out of trouble as well, as ignorance of the law, of tax law, is not an excuse. And the accountant that you're hiring is so important for your financial well-being, as I want you to get in the habit of calling your accountant before investing a large amount of your money, as they might tell you, wait, do that from your tax savings account instead. And sometimes it's impossible to actually move an investment that you already made to a tax savings account after you made that investment. Or better yet, the accountant might even convince you to not make that investment, which will certainly justify their hourly rate. Okay, and so for an example, go to treasury.gov, that website in the US, or your government website, and search, if applicable, to see if your accountant is registered or operating legally. Okay, and some countries offer this. And this is why I like to get referrals from friends or your older and wiser relatives when it comes to hiring an accountant. So Google the accountant's name too, obviously. And all states and all countries and all provinces have different licensing rules. So know this when you search for an accountant online. And I think accountants are usually likely to get you much more money back in refunds in the long run than if you filed on your own. And accountants spend years studying to be an accountant. and most of them keep up to date with the constantly changing tax codes. So not hiring an accountant, if you can, is like considering doing some medical procedures yourself. Okay. And if you have a very basic return, you can even file yourself if you have very minimal income at this point in your life. And there's actually a lot of free filing systems in many countries online at government websites. So just do a Google search. Okay. And many times, actually, the larger tax companies in your country, they'll let you do your taxes online for free at their websites. And what they'll then do is they'll try to upsell more services to you. Or you can use software to do it for a minimal cost, like TurboTax. There's another one called TaxAct.com and others, as they link to your banks and credit cards, and they import the data, make it easier for you to do. I worry about security issues with that, though. And we're going to cover identity theft protection and using software programs for your finances much later in the course. Okay, so tax tip number 7. Hire your kids. If you run your own business full-time like I do, or on the side, then hire your kids to do some of the administrative or filing or data entry work, as you may get a tax break and you can actually teach them lessons about making and saving money at the same time. And there's usually a limit, though, on how much you can pay them annually. And the tax code changes all the time on stuff like this. So, for example, my kids work and they get about $1,000 annually tax-free when I pay them to do administrative stuff in what's called their Roth IRA account. IRA is a retirement account. We're going to discuss retirement savings in a lot more detail later. Okay, tax tip number 8, housing expense tip. You actually might be able to depreciate part of your house if you use it for business. Okay, but tax codes change constantly on this, so either ask your accountant or do more research on this. Tax savings tip number 9, job search tax tip. In many countries, most people don't realize this, but in many countries, all or most of the expenses related to finding a job are actually tax deductible. So please keep all your receipts and track your mileage if you drive to interviews. And as a quick side note here, if you want to track your mileage, please click this icon here in the course, and we'll discuss mileage tracking a few more times later on the course, but you can track it here. Okay, we'll come back to that soon. Tax savings tip number 10, moving expense tip. Moving expenses can be deducted in many places, not all, but many. So please just keep the receipts and the mileage details as well. Tax tip number 11, perception of expenses tip. Okay, this is a little out there, but bear with me, please. I want you to think about everything that you buy as costing you close to twice as much because of taxes. Okay, and the tax rates are really high in a lot of countries. And if you include income tax, state tax, or provincial tax, VAT tax, GST tax, or other taxes and sales taxes and property tax, etc., then you know what? The total tax that you might be paying could be 50%, which means every dollar you spend on anything you want to buy, just think of it as costing you 100% more because half goes to tax. Okay, it's a perception thing, and thinking that way will make you save a little bit more money too. Okay, so think about everything costs twice as much as you think, and I know that's kind of out there, but if you condition yourself to thinking that everything you buy costs way more because of taxes, then you know what, you'll end up spending less and think twice before you make a purchase you don't need. Okay, I wish I had told myself that years ago. Okay, tax savings tip number 12, refund of taxes tip. If you get an unexpected tax refund, 100% of that unexpected amount should immediately be put into your savings account or reduce high interest expense related debt items from credit cards by paying them off. Okay, never, ever spend money you get from tax refunds, especially unexpected tax refunds. Out of sight equals out of mind. Within reason, of course. Okay, tax savings tip number 13, retirement tax tip. Please maximize your retirement savings contribution, if available, every single year, especially when you're younger, okay? And the older you, meaning you many years from now, the older you will thank you for this. And we're going to discuss what to invest in your retirement account and how to diversify your retirement portfolio in part 3 of the course. Okay, and so retirement programs are a little bit different in all countries, but for the most part, they're focused on helping you save money today in a retirement account that is tax-free. And then, similar to the education savings account that we spoke about, when you take that money out of the tax account many years from now, when you retire, that is, you pay taxes then on a much bigger amount, so let your money work for you. Okay. And not taking advantage of retirement savings accounts is literally like throwing your hard-earned money in the garbage. And in the United States, it's called the 401k program. That's a retirement account most people use. In Canada, it's called the RRSP, or the Registered Retirement Savings Program. Okay, and if you want more information on the retirement savings program in your country, if applicable, please go to this location in your complete personal finance dashboard Excel file. Tax saving tip number 14, other or additional tips. And again, this is all sorted alphabetically. So for additional tax incentives where you live, please Google tax incentives in your country name, or see this link here, okay? And we're going to talk a lot more about tax shelters and what to invest in when it comes to retirement savings programs, etc., a little bit later in the course.